Alright, nobody panic, but it's happening. The trip announcement is here. I just got back from a month and a half worth of traveling all across America and Canada, and it's been absolutely amazing. And while I am really looking forward to resting up this month, that's only because I have a huge trip coming up that is set to be the largest trip that we've ever done here on Coaster Dash. You guys know that every year I love to go international in the summer, and we're once again doing that. It is going to be greater than 6 weeks, spanning from the end of July to the beginning of September, 11 total countries, including 9 that we'll be riding roller coasters in. We will be visiting 30 total theme parks, and 23 of those are brand new visits for me. So of course, I'm so excited to be able to announce this today, and I have all the details finalized. Of course, with the caveat that plans change, things may be a little different. I mean, for starters, the dates aren't set in stone, but also, who knows if I'll actually get to visit all of these parks. Now, there could be some parks that I decide to visit that I'm not telling you guys about today. So while this is subject to change, this is what I believe will be happening, and it is very exciting. But before we dive in, I did just want to thank you guys for finally getting the channel to 30,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane. And yes, I'm gonna go here. I appreciate all of you. It really would not be possible at all without your support. I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of this community, and I think it hit me at Holiday World this year at Halloween Nights, the coaster enthusiast event they do every single year. I came back in 2024 and it was amazing. And so many people came up to me. They wanted to say hi, they wanted to get a ride on the voyage, they wanted a picture. Some people wanted me to sign their shirts. It was really special. I got to meet so many people that I've looked up to for a long time, and it's amazing because I'm just an ordinary person who loves roller coasters. Except I decided to put it on YouTube for myself, and you guys happen to love it too. And now I have this audience, and I'm, of course, so grateful and always will be. But it's just the beginning, and I can't wait to see where the channel goes in the future. And I think this trip is going to do great things for Coaster Dash, and I think you guys will really enjoy what I'm about to tell you. So let's dive in. Starting at the end of July, I'll be making my way from Los Angeles to Norway. Just wanted to find the cheapest flight possible to get me on the continent. Josiah of National Coasters will once again be joining me for this, which is great. If you guys missed last year's Europe trip, we did a 2-week thing and it was incredibly awesome. But if there was one slight regret, we could have gone for so much longer. Like, we were having so much fun. Now, these first couple days in Norway is all about sightseeing and hiking. There's no theme park stuff. We have already been to Norway's premier theme park, Tusenfryd, which we did on last year's Europe trip. If you haven't seen that vlog, go check it out. But all this will make an appearance on my second channel, Travel Dash. So that's what's kind of cool about this trip. While it is predominantly theme park and roller coaster related, we are also doing some sightseeing and hiking as well. So it's good for both channels in that way. But after Norway, we are going to be making our way to London. That's right, everyone. We're going to the UK. It's finally happening. And I've been holding this off for a long time because I was just waiting for the day that they got a brand new massive roller coaster that just looked world class, and they finally got it this year with Hyperia at Thorpe Park. And since we are flying into London, that will be the first park that we visit, Thorpe Park. Talk about a first park of the trip. I am so damn excited to get to Thorpe Park for the first time. And because it's my first ever time in the United Kingdom, all of these parks we're visiting in the UK are brand new for me. So everything at Thorpe Park is new, and they seem to have a very nice collection of roller coasters. But yeah, Hyperia, I'm gonna be honest, was the main drive for wanting to visit not only this park, but the entire country. But I can't wait for Stealth, Swarm, Saw the Ride, lots of excellent rides there. I also feel the need to mention that we will have some other special guests joining us throughout the trip, and 2 close friends of ours will actually be in the UK as well. Those people are Antonio and Gio. These are coaster nerds with hundreds upon hundreds of coaster credits. They haven't been in too many of my videos before, but they are some of the closest coaster enthusiasts to me, and I can't wait for them to join us on this trip and make an appearance on Coaster Dash for the first time in forever. After Thorpe Park, we are going to be making our way up to Alton Towers for my most anticipated theme park of the entire trip. I have heard amazing things about this park. Putting the rides aside, you have these castles and gardens, and it is incredibly unique. But also, they can't build above the tree line, so all their coasters are also fascinating. New for this year is the freshly retracked Nemesis, now known as Nemesis Reborn. But there's lots of other great coasters here like the Smiler, and lots of other cool prototype coasters. We will be spending 2 days at Alton Towers, and for the first time ever in the history of this channel, we will be holding a meetup. So on August 1st, I want to see as many of you guys as possible because I know so many people over the years have asked, when are you finally going to the United Kingdom? And since I'm finally here, I feel like I owe it to you guys. We're going to make this thing awesome. Have an incredible meetup. I'm hoping for a great turnout. I just hope to meet a bunch of you guys from the UK. So once again, that is Thursday, August 1st. Be there. From there, we're going to be heading up to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This is another bucket list park of mine. They just recently reopened Valhalla, which is a really impressive water ride, but of course the coasters are the main drive, and they have a nice lineup there as well, including the iconic big one, the Mach multi-launch coaster Icon, and so many other unique attractions. Afterwards is our first day where things are a little bit up in the air right now. This is supposed to be a credit whoring day, if you will. We're going to be visiting two smaller parks in the UK. We've got Drayton Manor and Paultons Park. But these plans are subject to change if Drayton Manor doesn't open their Intamin spinning coaster in time. So this is a project they've had under construction for a while now, and it seems that this will be opening very, very soon, but if on the off chance it's not open in time for us, we will decide to go somewhere else. But for the time being, we're set to go to both of those, and they look like really nice family parks. And then lastly for the UK will be Chessington Worlds of Adventure before our next flight. Another interesting park operated by Merlin. This one is home to the new Jumanji themed wing coaster. It's a shuttle coaster, very interesting ride, looking forward to that, but the whole park is really well themed and presented, so I'm looking forward to visiting for the first time. And then we fly to another new country. We are going to Ireland for Emerald Park, formerly known as Tato Park. For the longest time, this park's been on my bucket list for their incredible looking gravity group wooden coaster known as Cuchulainn. And excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that right, and throughout the video if I'm not pronouncing things right, feel free to correct me in the comments. And then they also have a Vekoma inverted coaster that just opened this year that looks awesome as well. And this will just be a very short, quick stop in Ireland to visit this park. There's so many other things I'd love to do in Ireland at some point, but wanted to make this brief just so we could visit this park. After this, I'll be flying down to Belgium. Of course, a country I've been to a couple times before, actually on both of the past 2 Europe trips, but I had to do the Ride to Happiness again, my personal favorite roller coaster in the world, so we will be going back to Plopsaland, Japan. And I'm really looking forward to making that vlog because my files were all corrupted for that vlog last year. And so while those were lost, I finally get the opportunity to make an updated Plopsaland vlog. And we'll also be getting back to Wallaby, Belgium for my first time since 2022. And this park hasn't added anything new necessarily, but it was just a really nice park I visited last time, and I kind of wish that I had a little bit more time there. So I'm excited to get back and especially to ride Conda again, an amazing Intamin coaster. From there, we'll be catching a train to Phantasialand in Germany, one of my favorite theme parks in the world and my favorite in Europe. Phantasialand, again, has not added anything new since the last time I visited in 2022, but it's a park that I just felt like I needed to get back to because I fell in love with it last time I went. And some of the guys that are going with us have either never been before or it'll be their first time on Fly, which is an incredible ride. Then we'll be going down south to Europa Park for what is also one of the big priorities on this trip because they've just opened Voltron, which is a new Mach coaster that looks huge. I have been hearing absolutely out of this world reviews for Voltron, so of course I'm looking forward to doing that. And Europa Park in general is a park I also really enjoyed, so it'll be a pleasure to get back. Then we'll be meeting up with two friends of ours from Germany, Tim and Robin. If you guys remember them from the 2022 trip, they will be making a reappearance, and that's because we're going to be doing a couple parks with them. So after Europa Park, we are going to be heading east to Legoland Deutschland. Now normally I don't include kids parks on this channel, but this park is really unique in that they added a mini B&M wing coaster. Very peculiar ride, but I felt like I had to do it because of that. And in the exact same day, we're going to be making our way to another new country to check out Phantasiana in Austria. And this is another park that's been on my list for a while because of one particular ride known as Wild Train. It's a super small little coaster that apparently packs in airtime the strength of RMC. It looks like a pretty intense little ride. I'm really excited to do it. And the reason we're going to Austria at all this year is because unfortunately this is the last year Wild Train will be in operation, which is definitely a sad loss. But the good news is the park has announced that they will be opening a Mach Ride Striker coaster to replace Wild Train, so it gives me another reason to return to Austria in the future. And then we'll be heading to Austria's premier theme park, Wiener Prater, one of the most famous in Europe. And this park is really cool. It's kind of set up like a giant fair or carnival, but it's a permanent amusement park. And I'm so happy to say that we'll finally be able to ride Olympia Looping, the world's most famous traveling coaster. And not just Olympia Looping, but so many other really unique coasters and flat rides at this park, including the Tagada, which is illegal in America. Very intrigued to do that. And like Fantasiana, this park will be adding a new Mach Rides Big Dipper coaster soon, which will give me yet another excellent reason to get back to Austria. So I can't wait to visit this country for the first time, and I can't wait to revisit it at some point in the future. Another new country follows, and this one is quite the curveball. I doubt too many of you were expecting this, but we will be visiting Turkey. I'll be all on my own for this one, it looks like, but god am I excited to visit Turkey. This is a country I've wanted to go to for a long time, as I'm fascinated with the culture and the food and mosques and all the architecture. It just looks like a really interesting country, and they have 3 theme parks I'm going to be visiting. The first is down in Antalya for Land of Legends, home to the Mach Rides hypercoaster known as Hypercoaster. And then I'll be flying up to Istanbul to do the 2 big Intamin coasters up there. One of those is Nefes Gessen, which operates at a park known as Vialand, and the other is Red Fire at Corson Adassi. Now Red Fire is actually a clone of a coaster in Italy known as Ice Speed, which is much more well known. But what's interesting about this one is it operates with only lap bars as opposed to over-the-shoulder restraints like on Ice Speed. So this ride is in every conceivable way the superior coaster, and as someone who's never been on Ice Speed, I can't wait to do Red Fire. After that, I will be catching a flight from Istanbul to Helsinki, Finland. That's right, we're going back to Finland for the 2nd consecutive year. And it should be fairly obvious as to why, but we will be starting at Linnanmäki, a park I've already visited before, but they have one of my favorite roller coasters anywhere in Europe, Taiga. So of course I couldn't pass up an opportunity to ride that again, but the real reason we're going back to Finland is to do a couple parks that we missed last time. One of those is Sarkaniemi, a very unique seaside park that is home to one of 2 Intamin inverted coasters in the world. Now I've ridden one of them in Spain before, but I've heard this one is a much better ride. And then lastly, Hauer Park, which is way further north. A pretty tricky park to get to with public transportation, but we're gonna make do. This park is home to Junker, an awesome Gerstlauer infinity coaster that I'm really intrigued by. By this point, we're in the middle of August. I have family coming into Europe a week after this date, as they're gonna be here for their own array of reasons, but our trips lined up so closely that we figured I would just stay and extend my trip. But there are a couple days where I needed to do some stuff on my own, and so I'll be making my way down to Amsterdam to revisit Walibi Holland for my first time since 2022. Now admittedly it's a little bit of a weird time to go because they're opening a new RMC Raptor coaster next year, but I figured it was okay. I still really want to get back to Walibi Holland, a park that I really enjoyed last time, and they are home to an awesome RMC known as Untamed. And then I stupidly have a hotel near Plopsaland that I couldn't refund, so I'm gonna go back to Plopsaland Japan too while I'm in the area. It's completely ridiculous to go twice on one trip, I'm fully aware, but it is my favorite coaster in the world and I'll be with various different friends and people, so it's totally okay with me. And then making our way to France, a country I've been in briefly twice, once on both of my Europe trips, but this time we're going to be more extensively exploring France, and that certainly includes its theme parks. Of course, a big one was Disneyland, Paris, and Walt Disney Studios Park for my first ever visit. Been holding this one off for a long time. Disney parks of course require some extensive planning and they're pretty expensive, but I just pulled the plug and said, hey, I have to do it at some point. And I love my Disney parks. I'm sure it's going to be an excellent visit. My parents will be flying in the next morning, and then we'll be doing our own thing for a little while. This is much more sightseeing focused, but there are a couple of parks littered in the itinerary here and there, and the first one is actually going to be back in the Netherlands because we're going to be making our way up there, and that's Efteling, another park I freaking loved in 2022. I'm so excited to get back. My stepfather Hugh always says this is one of his rare bucket list theme parks, so I really wanted to get him out here, and it's one of my favorite theme parks in the world as well. From here, we're heading back to France, and there's a ton of small parks I want to hit in this country. One of those is Walligator Park. They have a clone of Raptor at Cedar Point that doesn't run with trims, which is quite interesting, so that should be a really fun ride. Also in the heart of Paris, where we're going to spend a couple of days in, there's also a small park, and I'm definitely going to butcher this pronunciation. Jardin d'Acclimatation, I think. Very small park, but they have a cool Gerstlauer bobsled wild mouse coaster and a couple other family rides. A much more significant park follows. This is Nigloland, which has certainly been on my bucket list for a while. I'm really excited to finally get to Nigloland. Heard it's one of France's best theme parks. And in the same day, I hope to hit Fraise-Bertheussy. Again, definitely butchered that pronunciation. We're going to be making our way east then to Europa Park once more. That's because we only had the one day before in the trip, and I'll be with a bunch of people then, so I figured this would be a slower paced visit, and of course more rides on Vulture Beltron. From here we have another hiking section of the trip in Switzerland as well as France. We're going to be in the Alps for a couple days, and that should be a lot of fun. Once again, that'll all be on Travel Dash for you guys to see. And then to wrap up the trip, we have 2 more small theme parks. One of those is Wallaby Rhone Alps, which I've already visited before, loved it, thought it was a great small park. And the reason I've decided to make it such a priority to get back to is because I've just opened an Intamin single rail multi-launch coaster known as Mahuka. And the ride looks so awesome. It's gotten great reviews. I really look forward to riding it. And then in the same day, we'll be ending with a new park, La Paul, home to a clone of Uvalin at Jura Summerland. Look forward to getting to La Paul for the first time. And with that, we conclude the trip. God, I am so excited. I feel like this is absolutely going to be the best trip we've ever done on the channel. It's certainly the largest. And the whole selling point with this trip is it's kind of like we're completing Europe. Starting next year, I think is finally going to be the time I want to branch into other continents. So I wanted to tick off a bunch of stuff in Europe I hadn't done before and maybe just get back to a couple parks finally. Of course, that doesn't mean I won't go back to Europe in the future. Hell, Italy is an exclusion from this trip, and there's lots of stuff in Italy I want to do. But I have 2 reasons we didn't include Italy in this trip. The first of which is there's just so much to do there. Not just theme park related, also hiking, cities, all sorts of stuff. That requires a couple weeks in of itself, in my opinion. And the second reason too is I kind of feel like they're void of a world-class coaster. The UK just got that with Hyperia. I feel like Italy should be up next. And I've heard that I should wait off a little while because Gardaland is supposedly looking into building a big new coaster, so when that happens I'll look more closely into Italy. But for now I'm holding off on that and completing everything else in Europe. But yeah, I'm really excited to do this and bring you guys all along for the journey. It should be a lot of fun. But once again, thank you all so much for getting us to 30,000 subscribers. It really does mean the world. And I will see you next month for an incredible trip across Europe.